This is episode 475 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. I'm going to be talking about the Rangers' comments, their lack of inclusivity with LGBTQ community. I'm talking with Ethan Smith of Locked On Pirates. All that and more good stuff coming up on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And as mentioned, welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast today. Hope you're all having a phenomenal Thursday. I almost said Tuesday, October 21st. And Brice Paterik, former Bama fan, as my camera decides it wants to go off on us, guys. Hold on. There we go. Blooper City, baby. There we go. All right, we are back. But Brice, how are you doing today? Of course, we're going to get into something here in a second, but how are you doing as a Bama fan, a Rangers fan, a Mavericks fan, all that good stuff?
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate this. It's Thursday as we're recording this, and this is my day off, so I can just enjoy and watch some Mavericks basketball, watch a DFW team that doesn't make me cry as often, doesn't make me angry. I don't know. Make me angry in different ways, I should say. But good ways, because they win some sports games.
Well, there you go. Are you a Dallas Stars fan too? Because you're kind of the enemy if you are at this point after the other night. But we're here to talk about baseball. And of course, as I mentioned in our intro, the Rangers kind of got in the media the wrong way again. What are your thoughts initially on that stuff that came out today? And for my Pirates listeners, can you elaborate a little bit, seeing as they probably have no idea about what I'm talking about?
Well, I saw a lot of these tweets that teams are making. All of them were making basically the same statement. I didn't really think much of it. I saw the Rangers, I'm like, okay, this is a bunch of nothing. Teams making their, social media avatars purple, talking about standing up for against bullying of LGBTQ youth in support of inclusion for Spirit Day. And so a lot of these teams were talking about that. And the Rangers just conveniently left out. They just said this is their Twitter statement: join us in taking a stand against bullying and in support of inclusion. No mention of who they're including or who people are bullying or anything like that, because the Rangers have a bad track record of being inclusive to the LGBTQ community. They are the only team who did not have a Pride Day, a Pride game. They have been the only team that haven't had it for years. And they have a notorious track record for not being supportive of, our friends in the rainbow community. And Jeff Passan quote tweeted, Levi Weaver of The Athletic, friend of the pod, friend of real life, was the one who, brought this to people's attention. And Jeff Passan quote tweeted it, and obviously giving it more clout because that's what Jeff Passan does. But he said, worth noting, according to the story, he shared a story from the New York Times. Neil Liebman, who's the COO for the Rangers team that did not include LGBTQ plus in his message of in support of inclusion, is the chairman of Major League Baseball's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which just, I didn't know that beforehand, but hearing that I'm so angry with this team for so many more reasons than just being an awful baseball team. Like, that's enough, just being a really bad baseball team. But then you throw this stuff in there, and it's like, it just really is hard to praise this team, to be excited about this team, to be a fan of this team. It's just like at every turn, every corner, you just make the wrong turn. Like, it's not that hard to be minimally inclusive, but every single time they're like, no, we're not doing it. We don't care about that. And it's just so frustrating to watch as a fan.
Yeah, and I can imagine as well. And I mean, even on the fact of on the field, they're not exactly the greatest team right now either, as both of our teams head into this offseason in the top 5 worst teams in baseball, according to the draft order. And later in the podcast, we'll get on to like free agents that could be going to our respective teams and stuff like that. I've been trying to cover that a lot over the last couple of weeks, but after what you just said and after what I heard, I mean, again, how hard is it really to include everyone, especially in a sport that to some people is dying because of the lack of fun, the lack of inclusion, that and the other. And you look at all of the different demographics across the sport of baseball now. The Miami Marlins have a CEO or COO or whatever position she's in. I know she's in a very high up position, but they have a woman in a high up position
As the GM and I believe
the
president of
general
baseball
manager.
ops.
Yeah. General manager and baseball operations, I think. Sorry for not knowing exactly, but either way,
That's
the point
Kim
is,
Eng, by the way,
yeah. And
for those
either
of you
way,
who don't know.
yeah. And either way, look at I mean, you have so many players from so many different countries, from so many different backgrounds, and it's kind of just ignorant to me in a way, not to say that about your own team, but I feel like you would also say the same thing
No,
probably.
it's ignorant. It's ignorant and intentionally, exclusive.
Mhm.
Baseball it's not 1920 anymore. There are other sports. There are honestly better sports, more inclusive sports, more progressive and exciting sports. And baseball isn't just for, straight white Christian men. Like there
Yeah.
is a lot of people, there are a lot of people, a lot of different kind of people who love baseball, and they shouldn't be excluded or, felt like they're not a part of the baseball community because they are an integral part of the
Yep.
baseball community.
Oh, I agree 100%. And honestly, being more diverse and all that stuff as well, that's going to help the game grow again. And you really need to help the game grow again. And honestly, we'll go ahead and get into this after this ad read. Having the same four teams pretty much be in the final four teams in the playoffs is not a great way to really get people involved in sports too much, especially like baseball. I mean, you look at hockey, basketball, and all that stuff. Some of the main teams are there all the time, but guess what? They don't always win. It feels like they always win here.
This episode is brought to you by NetSuite. Slow is just right if you're on vacation, a sloth, or describing QuickBooks. More like slow books. It sucks you in, slows you down with manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays that leave you scrambling for the numbers you need. Now is the time to make the switch to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 financial system, because NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes, close your books in no time, no matter how big your business grows. Failing to switch to NetSuite will leave you stuck trying to make sense of your books while your competitors sprint ahead. 93% of surveyed businesses increased their visibility and control since switching to NetSuite. And right now, special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program only for those ready to switch today. Head to netsuite.com/lockedon right now. Get special financing at netsuite.com/lockedon. That's netsuite.com/lockedon. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar has so many delicious flavors. There's something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorites. If you don't know the Built Bar flavors, you're absolutely missing out. You got all kinds of great ones like mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, raspberry, cherry barcia, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. They're just all fantastic. And not only are they fantastic tasting, like they're healthy too. They're just fantastic for you as well as fantastic tasting. 17 to 18 grams of protein in bars, calories ranging from 130 to 180, and only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. All these amazing flavors, they're all tasty, and they're all healthy. So go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
Now, getting into what's going on in baseball in general. If I would have sat here 2 months ago, Brice, and told you that the Atlanta Braves would be up 3-1 on the pesky Los Angeles Dodgers, again, for the second straight year without Ronald Acuna, would you have called me crazy?
Oh, absolutely. I would have called you crazy, or I would have said, did everybody on the Dodgers just kind of like forget how to do baseball? Because that's the only thing that would make it make sense. I mean, losing Acuna and like basically their entire starting outfield. That's why I was really, impressed with the Braves for first off the pettiness of the decision to straight up go for it after losing basically their entire outfield. Like, you know
Yep.
what? Actually, the Mets suck. I don't trust them not to screw this up. And that sends a message to the league that's like, yeah, I don't think the Mets are for real. And you know what? They weren't. And the Braves, went ahead and did it and went for it. And they beat the Brewers pretty handily. Wasn't super close. And, this series they've been doing very well. I was worried when they dropped the game in the manner in which they did, with a 3-run lead going into the 8th inning. And my boy, former Ranger Luke Jackson, being the one to cough it up, hurt my feelings very badly. I want a signed apology from Cody Bellinger to Luke. He doesn't have to write it to me. He can just write it to Luke. It's like, hey, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. That was pretty rude and unnecessary of me.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is with the Braves, too, is obviously me living in Braves country down here in Georgia, there's a lot of optimism. And I literally have, this might be disrespectful of me to say being a Pirates fan, but the only thing I say every time to Atlanta sports fans, especially in this situation, as I have to do that real quick, go back 10 months ago, actually a year ago almost now, go back. Where were the Braves last year? Up 3-1 against the Los Angeles Dodgers with Ronald Acuna, with Freddie Freeman not 0 for 8 in his first 8 at-bats with 6 strikeouts. And what happened there? This series, I will not believe it until I see either the bottom of the ninth, or even if they have to finish it in the top of the ninth, the final out of the game is made and the Braves are heading to the World Series. I won't believe it. I just won't. Yeah. And I think that's where most of baseball is right now. And I'm also I hate to say it, a Dodgers fan right now, because I wanted them to repeat handedly so that they would talk about a salary floor or a salary cap or fixing money in baseball instead of allowing a team to spend literally 12 times more than the Pirates did this year. And of course, that's on the Pirates. They have literally no contracts beyond this year. Everybody's either arbitration or a free agent. So that's more on them. There is $0.00 on the books right now as I am speaking to you.
That's exactly where the Rangers are. They're literally right there, just arbitration and whatever. And I don't know about you. I don't know how much the Pirates have spent in their history. I'm not thinking it's a whole bunch, but the Rangers, at least at points, did spend, but not with this new ownership group. The Rangers haven't had a big contract, any kind of sizable contract, beyond 3 years since Shin-Soo Choo signed that $150 million 7-year deal in 2014. The highest contract that they've given out since then was Lance Lynn, 3 years, $30 million. And now they're talking about, we're going to go get, Corey Seager or Carlos Correa or one of the big name pitchers. What? I'm sorry, what? Yeah. The team that, basically sabotaged their own offer to Anthony Rendon and, said they were going to be competitive for, who's his name? I can't think of his name. Philadelphia had an incredible year, was a former Mets, Zach Wheeler. They said they were going to go be in on Zach Wheeler. They barely got a meeting with him and then were quickly shown the door. So I think they need to have a salary floor because it'll make me less mad at the Rays and the other teams who are just we don't really care. We're just going to be bad or mediocre. And our fans will still, show up to games and spend money and watch our games on TV. It just makes me so angry. The just how conceited owners are.
Yeah, trust me, you're telling that to a Pirates fan. But also, I thought it was funny. We had a little Twitter exchange after my podcast the other day about some options for the Pirates outfield this year or the upcoming season. And of course, I mentioned some names the Pirates are familiar with: Austin Meadows, Starling Marte, and Andrew McCutchen. And then you decided to come in with my fourth option that I said I would love here because of his defensive versatility, and that was Chris Taylor. So is this going to be a rivalry between the Pirates, the Dodgers, and the Rangers to get Chris Taylor? Probably not, because that's a pipe dream for the Pirates. I don't think he even touches us with a 10-foot pole. Texas makes a little more sense. You guys could offer him more money. But what is the plan for the Rangers? We'll talk about that in a second as well. The whole Chris Taylor thing. But then I want to go ahead and quickly get your thoughts on, if you've already brought up the Astros before we started recording, have they basically just sunk the Red Sox into oblivion at this point? Like, is it just pretty much a done deal?
I don't know, because like I'm just mad at the Red Sox for not capitalizing. Like their offense is just kind of falling in the crapper. And also they used Nathan Eovaldi out of the pen. Why? Why did you do that? All these managers using their like star pitchers in these weird, unnecessary scenarios. Like when the Dodgers used Max Scherzer to close out Game 5 of the NLDS. Like you didn't need to do that. You still had other options in your pen. Or the Dodgers using Julio Urias with like 2 openers pitching him starting in the 3rd inning. Like, what the heck was that? And so then when he made his most recent start, his actual start, he got kind of lit up. So I don't know. I think the Red Sox can come back. Their starting pitchers have been more reliable, but they need to actually like trust them. Nick Pivetta was doing well, and they pulled him after 65 pitches, and then started using starting pitchers in their bullpen. And it's like, just don't overthink it. Just use pitchers and your bullpen in the way that makes sense, that you've done it in the regular season, and things will work out.
Yeah, exactly. And I've talked about that at length on the podcast too, that all this stuff going on in the postseason could really affect what's going on in free agency this year, with a lot of starting pitchers that are going to be trying to make some money. As it is what it is. But as far as free agency for the Rangers, and you can even give your opinion on what the Pirates should probably do, how are the Rangers planning on attacking free agency?
Well, I hate carrying water for the ownership. That's basically what I'm doing every time I say that I think that they're going to spend big. But I don't know that I think that they're going to spend big, or that they should. But that has been all the talk that has been fed, like just shoved down the throat of every beat writer, every media member. Just like, oh, they're going to spend big this offseason. They're going to go get one of those big 3 shortstops. They're going to go spend a whole lot of money and, probably try and bring Clayton Kershaw back home to Dallas. And I'm like, I would believe it when I see it from this ownership group. They're all talk, and I'm not going to carry water for them saying, oh, yeah, they're definitely going to do it. And also, even if they are, why are you broadcasting that? Like, why? There was no expectation of like, oh, man, this team just won 100 games, but they're going to bounce back and win 100 next year. Like, no, that never happens. Literally never has happened. So, like, I don't understand the big posturing. They say that they're going to try and be competitive again in 2023. That is way too quick a window. You got to suck for a little bit longer than that. Even though I do appreciate that they started their season of sucking in a 60-game season. But like, I don't know. This offseason, I have a lot of questions. There's been a lot of talk, but I am going to wait until things start actually happening, till I start saying, oh yeah, this team's actually going to spend money.
Yeah, and one of the bigger questions too with the Pirates is add some veteran pitching, backup catching, right fielder. Those are your big spots, but is it too soon to even worry about adding anybody? And I said, no, you can always look to add free agents. Look at Tyler Anderson and what he turned into this year for the Pirates, and then the Mariners. Mariners were this close to making the playoffs. That close. And that was a big part of what Tyler Anderson was giving them down the stretch. I just said, though, over the last couple of days, don't sign them to just 1-year deals and then offload them halfway through the year. That does nothing for you. Sign them to a 2-year deal. Why not? What does it hurt to sign a 31-year-old starting pitcher to a 2-year deal? Show him like all of these rookie I almost said rookie cornerbacks. My mind is on football today. Rookie starting pitchers, about like, how the game works, what pitches work against what batters. Let them do that. And then maybe in the midway through the 2nd year, you trade them away if it's really working out, or you just move them to the bullpen once a lot of those younger arms get moved. And we've seen bullpens are very important right now in the playoffs, and very important in general, because the Pirates bullpen flat out fell apart this year, in a better part of the season, really because of trades, but eventually injuries happen, and it really ended up hurting them really badly. So in the final part of today's episode, which is, of course, brought to you by our wonderful friends over at Bet Online, where you can bet on all of the sports that me and Brice are talking about right now. As you can see behind him, nice little Alabama flag behind me, nice little Steeler flag, if I could point correctly. You could bet on any kind of sports on betonline.ag. It's the sports equinox. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, and soccer are all going on at the same time. And BetOnline is here to help you with your betting styles, with your betting lines, all that good stuff. And when you go to betonline.ag to bet on any games that you want, make sure you use the promo code Locked On or Locked15. I found out that both work from people that have used it before to get 50% of your initial deposit as a welcome bonus, meaning if you throw $100 in there, they are going to match that and put it to $50 extra on a bonus. So that's always fun. You get more money to bet on. You can bet on futures for college football. You can bet on futures for Major League Baseball already, and the World Series still hasn't even happened yet. But you can do that all at betonline.ag, where the game starts, and the only place we trust here at the Locked On Podcast Network with our money for sports betting. So kind of getting away from the Pirates and the Rangers with free agency, the names are there in free agency this year. Where do you expect a lot of these big name free agents to go? Is it going to be kind of like the Dodgers, Angels, Red Sox, Yankees kind of deal? Or do you see maybe a guy like Carlos Correa or Corey Seager or even Trevor Story head to maybe another small market where they have more potential to win?
You know, I did a breakdown of this of looking like in depth at like who the big three shortstops are going to go to, and like, you know, looking at it, there's not that many teams that are like really like deep in the market for like a starting shortstop. Like it's going to be the Yankees are going to be the big team. I mean, other than that, I mean, maybe the Dodgers want to like fight hard to get one of those shortstops and like put them at second. But they still got Gavin Lux that they're waiting to put in set. They shoved him all the way to center field. So, and they've got Trey Turner for another year. So it's like, it's not really a huge need for him. But like, I think a team like, I don't know, not the Pirates, the Tigers could surprise people and spend a whole bunch of money in the offseason. I mean, they're not really that close. I mean, I would have thought about, Seattle, but like they're really closer. They have a good prospect at shortstop. I can't think of his name right now, but he's about like a year away. And
Noel V. Marte.
Yeah, and JB Crawford's been like fine for them. Like plenty good placeholder, really good defensively, average-ish offensively. But Nico Goodrum at shortstop for Detroit. Yeah, that can definitely use some improvement there with an 82 OPS plus. But like I think there's going to be a lot of surprise teams that are like after these big free agents. Nick Castellanos, I have no idea where the heck he's going to go. Like absolutely no idea. And I think he's going to opt out, which is a little surprising to me. Starling Marte, I honestly have no idea where a lot of these big guys are going to go. I feel like the Dodgers should try and keep around Chris Taylor after the great year that he had. But, you know, maybe they'll just like go trade for Juan Soto this offseason and it won't freaking matter because that's what the Dodgers can freaking do. And it's going to make me so mad. But, you know, I don't know. It's going to be a wild offseason. The most outlandish thing that I think would happen I think Clayton Kershaw is actually going to give some like genuine credence to coming back to Texas. I think he's wanted to for a while now. He loves it. He lives here in the offseason. He grew up in Dallas. Like he's pretty involved in the community. We go to the same church. So obviously we're besties in that I've like seen him twice at Christmas just because it's a huge Christmas service. And so there's like 1,000 people there. And I'm like, it's pretty easy to spot the 6'6" guy with the freaking shaggy hair and beard. It kind of stands out in the crowd. But I think he'll give some serious consideration to Texas. He'll likely end up going back to the Dodgers, and I would honestly want him to. Like, that's just what would be better for him. I would love to watch Clayton Kershaw be here in Texas, and the Rangers spend a lot of money on upgrading their facilities so that, like, when players come and see, like, even though I'm going to be losing 100 games here, at least I'll be kind of comfortable. So, yeah. I don't know. And even if they went, like, this is their dream offseason, they go get Corey Seager and Clayton Kershaw. Like, that's the absolute pinnacle dream. Even then, this is still probably a 90-loss team, maybe 85 if things go really well. But like, there's a lot to upgrade here, and you can't fix from 100 losses to like starting and like to contend in like a 2-year time span. You need like at least 3 years. So I don't know. It's going to be a wild off season for sure, though, especially with the CBA negotiations coming up. I'm really terrified that like I might have to do another season of like podcasting with no baseball. Like that would be absolutely brutal and miserable. I did that. I did the, get way too into the KBO. I don't want to do it again. Like I will, but I'd really rather not.
Yeah, and the thing is with the idea that you guys maybe get Seager and Kershaw. By the way, it'd be pretty easy for you to ask Kershaw to be on your podcast if you go to the same church. Just be like, "Hey, buddy, we both like Jesus. You want to be on my podcast?" But basically, like, I think that would kind of put you, and this is a weird team to compare it to, but that would put you really in kind of Kansas City Royals territory.
Gosh.
Where you had Salvador Perez this year, you had what's his name, Whit Merrifield, you had Alberto Mondesi. Like, you had some good players, but not a lot outside of that, and they really moved on from getting a lot of those guys out of there. And the thing is with me is the Pirates, I'd love to see them spend money this year, but is it really feasible for them to spend money? No, it's not. There's no reason for them to do it. The Brewers are still going to probably win the division next year. Maybe the Cardinals do it. But is it really feasible for the Pirates to make a move like that? No. Is it feasible for them to add a little bit? Yes, because that's what I want to see. But it's also for the Rangers, is that's what I would do too, is if you are saying, hey, we're going to go out and spend money, right? Why not go out there and get a lot of those guys that not only are going to improve your team all around, but why not fill every single void you have instead of just giving Corey Seager or Clayton Kershaw $30 million, you know? Like, I think that would be a more smart approach. Like, literally build an entire team. Like, you're on Diamond Dynasty MLB 21, the show right now, but you're playing with like a little bit less of a budget. Like, you, instead of having Mike Trout for 500,000 coins, you go and build an entire team with 300,000. That would be a very good offseason for the Rangers. And also, no offense, if Carlos Correa and some of these guys leave Houston, that division's for the taking, in my opinion.
It's not for the Rangers though. It's for
Not
Seattle.
for the Rangers.
It's for Seattle and maybe because Oakland's probably about to punt. Like they're probably about to punt and start rebuilding again. It's going to be Seattle's division to lose. I think Houston's still going to be, even if Carlos Correa leaves, which there's a lot of speculation that the Rangers are going to pursue him heavily, which no, thank you. I'm out. I don't want a guy who is involved in the worst cheating scandal in baseball history, but like, yeah, it's fine.
I think, oh wait, did Correa time throw you off?
Oh, I thought you were saying it's like time to wrap up. I was like, you giving me a signal, but no.
No. You didn't watch that game where he hit the big home run against the Red Sox and he immediately went like this after he hit it?
What, like he's Damian Lillard?
Yeah, he was channeling his inner Damian Lillard, and then the Red Sox proceeded to drop 20-plus runs on him for 2 straight games.
I didn't mean to slander Damian Lillard with associating him with Carlos Correa.
Yeah, well,
There's an official apology to Damian Lillard.
Official apology.
But anyway, I think some of the smart, you had a point there. Like the Rangers had done a good job these years that they haven't been so good of signing these middle guys, like guys who are kind of older, like 28 to 31 to 32 sometimes, especially pitchers. They've done it like 3 times now with Mike Minor, with Lance Lynn, with Kyle Gibson. Get these guys kind of off the scrap heap, kind of see something that you like want to fix in their mechanics or whatever, and like see if you can fix them. It hasn't worked out with all of them. Obviously, Mike Foltynewicz did not work out. Jordan Lyles is fine, but not good. Not like you could trade him for something because he's completely revamped who he is as a pitcher. But like, go get some of those deals, the like 2-3 year deals that are like medium money. So you're not committing too much. And, those guys, they have a big impact on the young guys. Like, Kyle Gibson had a really big impact on the staff for the couple of years that he's been here. So like guys like Dane Dunning, like, Taylor Hearn, like these other young starters, like they learned a lot from him. And, they also established their credibility with some of these other guys like Lance Lynn, who they didn't trade last year because he's like, his wife, I believe, was pregnant and he didn't want to like be moving when, she was going to have her baby. They didn't know what was going to happen with that. So he's like, let's just stay here, like work out a deal in the off season. And they treated him very well. And, there was some thought that he might think about coming back before the extension with the White Sox. But like that helps your credibility in free agency when you are one of these bad teams, when you start to have that young core, like, Seattle will, and like some of these other teams, like you have more of a young core than the Rangers do of having like young players that are actually like good.
Yeah.
But like you need that credibility around the league. So when you start to go from like team that sucks to team that sucks with some good young players to team that is starting to not suck and surprise people. Like, you need that kind of reputation with players around the league.
And I mean, hey, my whole offseason will be made, and I will never shut up about it if the Pirates bring back Andrew McCutchen. Does it help the team at all? No, it doesn't. But
it
what
helps your mental health, and that's important.
Yes,
okay?
it does help my mental health. Yes, seeing number 22 lace it up again for the Pittsburgh Pirates would be awesome. I'd also love to see number 6 lace it up again in Starling Marte. Anthony Alford took his number. Shout out to Anthony Alford for being on my podcast at the beginning of the season. But I'd love Starling Marte or Andrew McCutchen to come back. But Brice, I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk during free agency. Who knows? Maybe the Pirates and the Rangers make a trade. Who knows?
Oh my
you
gosh.
Never know. It's
Wild
baseball.
stuff
Whoever
happens.
knows. But while I have you here, who's winning the NLCS and ALCS?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna be optimistic and probably wrong on both ends, but I say the Braves and the Red Sox. All my picks have been wrong. I picked the White Sox to win the World Series. That looked real stupid, and it was more of a I'm just never gonna pick the Astros, like on principle. They could be up 3-0 and like in Game 4 with a 16-0 lead in the 8th inning. I'd be like, I'm still not picking them.
Mm-hmm. Well, mine was Rays Dodgers, so at least one half of mine is still correct. So if this was a March Madness bracket, I would clearly be winning right now. But Brice, tell the wonderful people where they can find your podcast, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. It's right there if you're watching it on YouTube. You can find Locked On Rangers on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rangers. Look for the one with my face, with the guy with glasses that's not talking about hockey. Well, I guess not talking about hockey as often. It does occasionally slip in there. But where can the fine listeners and watchers of Locked On Rangers find you, Mr. Ethan Smith?
Locked On Pirates, of course, is the Twitter handle. For me, I finally got the point right. It's MVP_Ethan. You'll see me in my fine LA Clippers writing and Pirates writing and Steelers writing and rambling and Go Dogs because they finally have a very solid team. My Jordan Davis jersey is on the way. Should be here in November. The big burly man. I wish the Pirates could put a bat in his hand and teach him how to hit because he'd be the next Frank Thomas. But anyways, Brice, it was perfect to have you on today. We talked about a bunch of different stuff. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in as always and making the Locked On Podcast Network and Locked On Pirates and Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day, every single day, Monday through Friday. And until then, I will see you on the flip side.